Hi everyone, my name is Rachel de Guzman. I am your Sports on Purpose host. On this vlog, we will be spreading awareness on the most valuable life lessons learned and wisdom gained from playing, coaching, and participating in sports by bringing the most fascinating conversations with some of the most inspirational and insightful sports personalities in the country. Good day everyone, welcome to another episode of Sports on Purpose. My guest for this episode has represented the Philippines in both touch football and rugby. She is a recruitment consultant by profession. Her passion for her sport has sparked a great deal of change within her sport. She's an incredible role model not just for her teammates, but also for the people within the touch football and rugby community. She constantly offers support and encouragement not just to her club members, but also to other athletes outside her club. She challenges the status quo and explores new ways of doing things and new opportunities to learn. Without further ado, the Isla Touch Football founder, Miss Jamaica Oliva. Yay! I'm so excited to have you in my vlog. Welcome to Sports on Purpose, Jam. How are you doing?
Thank you. Thank you, Rach. Okay, I'm okay. I just finished the work week. How are you?
I'm doing great. Also a bit
Thank,
tired, but yeah, fighting. Fighting.
Thank you for the very warm introduction.
I thought that I should have, said more because you obviously have accomplished a lot of things. But that will probably take up the whole page on my sort of script.
Hindi
So,
naman.
yeah, so I'd always like to begin my interviews by asking my guests about what they think about certain quotes. And this one I specifically chose for you because it resonated with me. You're one of the people who really have great perspective in life. Okay, really positive outlook in life, and I think the audience will really benefit from your interpretation of this quote. So I'll read it to you. And so this is what you will be will depend on the perspective you have. That's by Ray Dalio, the author of Principles, Life, and Work. What do you think about this quote, Jam?
Yeah, it's a very good quote. I think personally, this is something I adhere to. I don't know about this quote from before, but like when we carry our own perspective, like our own belief system in who we think we are or how we perceive a situation, we always have a different experience. Um, Maybe a perfect example. So I know this is a conversation revolving more around me being an athlete, being part of a sports community. But maybe a perfect example would be when I was starting my profession as a recruitment consultant. My mom used to always say, and it became like something in my head, like there's this piece in my brain that always hears her language saying that those people who have it hard usually are the ones who excel in life, or those are the ones who usually develop very good skills because they've been through hardships. And then me being part of the family, literally we're not literally having a hard time in terms of earning money. We can live by on a day-to-day basis. And so when I was starting work, I was saying to myself, what if I have no money? I cannot ask money from my parents. And then I'll go through working in this profession. And then I'll wait for my first salary. So it came to a point where I only had 50 pesos left in my wallet. And I was just feeling it. I never asked for money. And so my reality then, my perspective then was that it's all out. I have to make it. I have to make a deal. So I carried on that reality in my head. So I think perspective is such a very strong thing.
Yes, and it most of the time it dictates the trajectory of our career, of our life. So we'll start to talk about you being an athlete. You're a great athlete, and many people can attest to that. So could you please tell us about how your athletic journey began?
When I was young, so I grew up with two brothers. So we're five siblings, five children in the family. When you have two brothers and you have a dad who's also into sports, basketball, it's a normal thing to have the entire family come along and watch games. So
Mm.
being young, maybe as young as being in kinder or grade one, I used to watch a lot of basketball games. And then when I see my brothers do extra work at home, when everyone's sleeping, I'll I'll get the ball and do the same thing that my brother did as drills in preparation or to increase his skills for basketball. So to
Mm.
me, my athleticism developed in following what I see at home. And secondly, our parents just allowed us to play outside. So I remember, as a kid, I used to really run fast. I don't know if it's a normal thing, as a kid, but I think in general, you can be competitive on the streets, right? So maybe I developed being athletic or being active as a young kid. And then my parents, especially my dad, who had more time then, was the one who supported me to
Great.
try out basketball, to train for it.
Mm.
So that's where it really started. And then eventually I entered touch rugby in college and then rugby as well. So it's kind of always part of who I am doing sports.
What are the skills you've developed in sports that are transferable to other areas of your life or that you can directly apply in your life?
Transferable skills. I think growing up, you see things and then you imitate them and then you do different versions of a certain drill or an ability to do something, like different
Mm.
variations because something became easier. So um, it, I think it's more of an ability rather than a skill, like the ability
Mm.
to be creative, to
Mm.
explore how certain things can be executed, can be done. So we do that a lot in sports, right?
Yes.
You do one drill or you do a certain action, shooting the ball, dribbling, or in touch rugby, like certain pass or certain running channel, and then you do it differently and you combine it with other things. I think sports is closer related to being creative, and
Yes.
in a way, in other things like doing a chore or doing something else or something at work, you just naturally find how you can do things differently and arrive at a certain result, like a certain
Yes.
bottom line. So I think um, it's in. I think it comes back a lot to being creative, and then of course, in order to do something, you have to train for it. You have to
Yes.
experiment. You have to try it out. It can't be
Yes.
done just in your head.
Yes.
Um,
And it doesn't
ano
happen
pa ba?
overnight, right?
Yeah, maraming bagay na pwede nating matranslate from sports to so many things, such
Yeah.
as you can really develop a skill if you train for it. Nothing happens by accident now. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm just so good at imitating. Just happen to be so talented. I see it a lot of times. Na I train for something for so many hours, and then it just eventually happens na ang ganda niya tignan. For
Yes.
other people, sabi nila, ang galing mo naman, ang talented mo naman. Kung kaya mo rin naman yun. Well,
Yes. Yes.
magdi-drills ka lang ng long hours and then you repeat things and it becomes a skill. Similarly
Yeah.
at work, when I started in finance people, so that's our company, that's my job. When I literally started from scratch. So I had to learn
Wow.
everything. I had to learn the ropes from
Nice.
scratch as well, and they developed into a skill. And then in sports, when you enjoy what you're doing, you're naturally graceful. So the ability to be graceful, syempre, there's an element of enjoyment then.
Yes.
So yeah.
Wow, great answers, Jam. Yeah,
Medyo
I
uncomfortable ako.
like that. Yeah, no, I like that you connected it not just to day-to-day life, but also to your job, because they're all interrelated, right? What's the greatest life lesson sports have taught you?
um, it's to really care about what you do.
Mm,
So there's so many sports out there, and as a human being, our time is limited, and it sometimes it happens by chance that we're surrounded with people who are already in a certain community or in a certain
mhm.
sport. And when we when we immerse in something, eventually we end up really caring for it. Um, so to me, in everything we do, if we devote ourselves to it, if we care for it, it always turns out beautifully, and we always have a good time. And we
Yeah,
can be competitive about it, or it can be something in passing. But when we, to be in the moment and be devoted to what you're doing, I think that's the beauty of sports. Sometimes we can get high in emotions, or we can get furious in playing a sport, but it's also because I care about what I do. I care about how I'm playing the game, or I have so much intensity with me in how I play the game because I want to win, or I want to do things
yeah,
better, or I want to enjoy more with the team. So similarly, like the passion that we carry with us in other things that we do is totally the same.
and also by being highly passionate about your sports, you're able to inspire and encourage others to do the same. That's what makes you so amazing, Jam. Yeah. Um, we're now going to talk about you as a sports coach. Okay. Could you just please talk through your coaching journey? I am aware that you coached basketball as well back in college. Is that right?
Yeah. Yes, correct. um I think my coaching journey started even before coaching in basketball.
Mm.
So coming from a family um of being fond with basketball, and with my mom uh being from Masbate, so it's a province, we got invited to coach like 200 to 300 kids
Lot.
in the province. So I think that's my first time to actually coach back then. So I think I was maybe first year or second year college. And then eventually, so I went to UP for college. And then in my first 3 years, I was a player. And then in my fourth year, um, so I didn't actually make the cut to play for Team A back then. So for UAAP. And so fortunate enough, my coach offered to me to coach the Team B. So it was an exchange. I coached Team B so that I can continue my scholarship. So
Mm.
that's how it turned out that I eventually coach in an official or unofficial capacity.
Wow.
And then at the same time, so it started with coaching in the province. Then second step is to coach in UP for Team B, and I really enjoyed it. I understood the sport even better because of that. And
Coaching.
then and then at the same time, being in the basketball circle, some of my teammates or some of the people I coach even were coaches also for Milo Best. So we taught basketball as well to kids until 14 years old. Like I used to teach kids like 4, 5, 6 years old. So I have some background in coaching through that, like literally going down to the most basic, breaking things down for kids to understand it, and then shifting it to a different level of understanding for different age students.
Yeah.
And then eventually, when I got exposed to touch rugby, um, I So I first started in UP, and then when I graduated, I was working in BGC area back then. And UP is already so far away.
Yeah.
In order, like it's kind of, back then traffic for me was already horrible. And so I said, if I can't go there, why don't I why don't I bring the sport here?
Oh, that's great.
So yeah, so that I can continue to play. So it just so happened that I met along with people in the rugby and touch rugby circle, and then they initiated to create a new team club.
Mm.
So didn't really call myself as a touch coach then. Just so happened that in order to play, you need six people on your
Yeah.
team. And so I was teaching people the basics of the game, and it grew eventually. We have our own field, we have our own venue and regular schedule to play. And yeah, I just went on from there. Eventually, after that, um, yeah, maybe I'll just fast forward to 2018. So I applied as an assistant coach to ISM, International
Mm.
School Manila, to their junior varsity team. So that's really, I would say that's my first official touch coaching job. So my goal then was literally, I want to learn from others, like people coaching touch. And the
Mhm.
best way to do it is just to throw myself out there in an
Yes,
official
experience it,
coaching
right?
job. Yeah,
Yeah,
to experience it.
fantastic. What do you like most about coaching in general?
It helps me know myself better, and it helps me know myself better in a sense that I discovered I'm very impatient. Like I jump from from step one to step four, and
Mm-hmm.
then the students or the players could not keep up. So I like that I was able to accept my flaws and to understand how I can be more effective. So it's really zooming into my capabilities on what I'm missing, because it also comes back to being a player. Like if you want to
Yes,
effectively play on the field with your teammates, then I have to know their level of playing,
yes.
and then
And you have
being
to see
able
it
to,
from their, sorry, and you have to see it from their perspective as well.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And I'm not a I didn't work as a coach previously, so that's my first time, in ISM coaching touch. And so I had to learn everything also from scratch then for touch. So I had to pay a lot of attention, do a lot of preparation. I thought coaching, I don't have to spend so much time in coaching because it's just 1 to 2 hours. And then I realized I actually have to do a lot of preparation prior. Otherwise, the time spent in the actual
Yeah.
session won't be effective.
Yeah, it says a
So
lot about how much you care as well. I remember when we were training for World Cup. When was that? 2 years ago. You would
yeah,
normally hold a
2018.
notebook, and then you're like, we're playing. You're like, oh, okay, right. That's great that you're really taking notes, right? And you're being very objective about your feedback.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think coaching is a very interesting, it's a very, I would say it's difficult, it's very interesting, because if you don't do your homework, you don't audit the people you're working with, you don't pay attention, you don't study, then the team you're coaching can only go so far. So I admit to myself that I'm entering the team to with only a certain amount of experience, and this is my first coaching job. And so there's so many stimulus, there's so many information coming in, and if I can just capture some of them and be able to process them,
Yeah.
then I can do a better job next time. So that's why I rely a lot on my notes. I used to draw a lot, I used to take
Yeah.
down notes, I used to even write down names of the students, because I have to teach myself,
Yeah.
because I'm new to the job.
How do you get the best out of your athletes?
Um, when I level with them,
Hmm.
so, di ba sometimes when we coach a team, meron tayong idea na ito yung dapat maging ganitong level of a player kayo. However, when we are so focused on the goal, we forget maybe the goal is wrong. Maybe the goal is unattainable. So,
unrealistic. No, sometimes.
unrealistic. So, yeah, I just realized na it's so important to actually know your players. What are they really capable of doing? When something is going wrong, himayin siya, bakit hindi nila magawa to? Meron palang basics na naiiwan. So we're so excited to improve, or we're so excited to be able to execute something na, pag ganito kasi nagagawa natin, magaling na tayo. When in fact, for example, ISM, they execute the basic things so well, it looks like it's complicated, but it's not. They're executing the basics consistently over and over again. That's why they're very graceful. That's why they're very consistent on the field. So, yeah, to be able to level with your players means you study them, and then yung incremental improvement, growth will take place eventually. It's better that way kaysa naman ipilit natin siya na okay, kaya nyo na gawin yung ganitong play, pero hindi naman nila ma-execute ng tama, or hindi nila naiintindihan kung paano.
So you're meeting your athletes where they're at, no? And you're customizing, modifying the drills for them to get
Tsaka tingin ko, yung be able to work with other coaches. So I value that experience a lot. So sa JV, meron ako mga kasamang coach. Tapos sa varsity din, nakakapag-observe din ako sa kanila. And then, I chose to apply to ISM before kasi nung naglaro ako sa national team for Touch, yung coach namin sa national team we're also the same coach. I mean, we're also coaches from ISM. And so, even before applying as a coach, like way back pa, talagang inoobserbahan ko talaga sila nung kino-coach kami nila Steve Dodd, nila Craig. Yung mga concept nila, yung mga tinuturo nila, I just really take down notes about it. Who knew I would coach ISM eventually?
Yeah. And that was because you've been pushing yourself. I mean, to learn new things, right? Try new things. And you're not afraid. You're actually very brave, courageous to start from scratch, right? You don't mind starting from scratch. That's why I think you're very courageous and brave in that sense.
I think that's the best way to learn, diba?
Yeah, I would also like to add, because I was once you're still our coach in Isla, but you formally coached me when we were training for the World Cup. And I would remember that you would even schedule not a meeting, but like a reflection time with me to set my targets and to, just to check in how I had been doing. So yeah, I really did appreciate that. And from then I understood and saw you as someone who really cares about her players, and you were really coaching the person. It's not always wise to focus on the outcome, and you would take time to really get to know the players, what they're capable of, how you're gonna motivate them, and how you can bring the best.
Huge help. Well, it's a huge help during the time that we were working together for World Cup. So sila Coach Nathan, sila Dang were there. So these are valuable resources that we can already, I was utilizing to the very extent that I could. Like, even if I'm having a hard time absorbing information, hirap mag-notes, hirap mag-process ng notes, ang daming nangyayari in between. But as much as possible, by getting inputs from colleagues, it overall helps us to, give what's due to the players so that they can focus on improving. So
And I'll tell you what, not all coaches do that. I've had so many coaches in the past. They never did like one-on-one. But my experience with you, even if it was a very short experience, being in a team together, being my coach, I really felt the sincerity, and you were really genuine in terms of when you give us feedback. Well, at least for me, I can only speak for myself. When you were giving that feedback, I could really feel that it was coming from cared about me, about my efforts. You saw my efforts, you acknowledge my hard work. So thanks for that, Jam. I'm sure many of your club members and trainees have experienced that as well with you.
Thank you. Well,
So,
you're very receptive din kasi. So that's why it worked. It always works for the better when feedback, when we're really intentional about improving.
now we're gonna talk a bit about your profession. So you're a recruitment consultant.
Okay, so as a recruitment consultant, so I'm part of a Singapore-based company.
Mm.
We specialize in finding the best talents in Singapore when it comes to digital media or online marketing. And then we bridge them to companies looking for the skill sets, for select skill sets within this domain. So I've been part of Finest People since 2016. Um, medyo, medyo timely siya, sobrang in demand right now yung mga talents na hinahawakan namin.
Mm.
Although, as of the moment, Singapore yung branch namin within Asia. And we're really hoping to expand and be able to help more people, especially in the Philippines, because our team is everyone's from the Philippines for Finest People Singapore.
What's the most exciting part of your job, Jam?
Oh, it's really nice to help people
Mm-hmm.
elevate themselves. So and companies to grow with the right talents. So, diba, usual experience to anywhere in the world. Um, Companies go through experiments of finding or hiring talents. So sometimes it doesn't work out. Sometimes it doesn't work out because they don't have the right skill sets. Na sa interview magaling sila pero pagdating sa on the job hindi pala. Or maybe they have the right skill sets but the talent or the person is not really motivated in that environment. So being a consultant, it's so nice to be able to understand human motivations, to be able to understand purpose behind companies, to know the bottom line for companies, like how, what's their vision for why they have certain products, and to give them people who will really contribute to their success. So that's a to me that's a very purpose. I mean that's a very purpose of why we exist, or at least some contribution we can do to some people.
Cool. What is the most difficult part of your job? I'm curious.
So in itself, we're a specialist. So we specialize in digital media talents.
Mm.
So we're a team doing that. So we have our sub niches. So for example, diba, digital media, such a huge domain in internet marketing. Meron kang email marketing, meron kang social media, etc. So we have our own domains per person, sub niches. It's so difficult to not say yes to some jobs that fall on our lap, or that we're able to unlock. Sometimes there's scarcity of jobs, or sometimes we see short term, we forget the long game.
Mm-hmm.
So it's hard to it's sometimes difficult to manage decisions, to say no to so many things in order that you can effectively say yes to the long game. So, yan. Kasi if I spend major time on minor things, so for example, I'm supposed to do A jobs, like all these categories of jobs, and then I slightly said yes to B job, to like category B. So, yung nangyayari, I spend some of, the time I should be focusing on in my lane
Yes.
to other things, and then I end up losing some benefits or advantages, or being able to help more people within my specialization. So made up siya, it's a constant balance in decision making and being able to organize resources. So yeah, it's kind of like managing your own business na din.
What skills or values have you developed through your job can you apply to your day-to-day life?
Well, values and skills, parang ano na namin yan, parang meron kaming set of core values na, and not just because it's said at work, but I think it's how I naturally operate. So yung value na you really take complete responsibility. So if you're responsible in your area, or you said, if I say I want this, I say I want to close this number of deals, this number of accounts, then I'll take complete responsibility. Like, it's really up to me. Things happen because of, my want to achieve it. So if I said I want it, then I have to take complete responsibility. I have to be responsible for saying no to other things, saying yes to the right things, following the right processes, or to always be wired to find solutions. Because when I know what I want, when we know what we want, then we're naturally paying attention to clues that will get us to unlock those things.
Yes.
And then the value of enjoying it. I think I mentioned it earlier. You do something more gracefully, naturally, because you're enjoying it. So what's the point of endeavors when we're not enjoying? So I enjoy recruitment a lot. Maybe to give some context in my day-to-day work, I'm a full-scale recruitment consultant. So how we mean by it is that I find companies who are looking for talents. So I do a lot of calls. I talk to a lot of strangers. I put myself out there. And at the same time, I scout the market for the best performers in my field. So
Is
in
this,
digital
is
media.
this something similar to a headhunter?
Yeah,
I think
it's
that's
something
the more
similar.
general term
Yes.
for
But
that.
the main difference as a consultant is that, so as a consultant, I literally talk to the owners of the company. What are they trying to achieve? And it trickles down to deciding who are the talents that need to be hired. Who are the talents that need to be scouted? What are the positions? What are the goals per position? So we consult with them to help them decide how to channel their resources in order to prioritize which talents to unlock, to find in the market, so that they can reach their goals. And at the same time, we're also the ones finding the good people in the market.
That's very
So
interesting. Yeah.
it is. It's a lot like sports. It's a lot like, when we're trying to recruit people for our
Scouting,
team.
scouting.
Scouting.
Cool,
Yes.
cool, yeah. And now we're gonna move on to you as a founder of Isla Touch Football. You always have the option to just play, and enjoy the sport and become a team member. But what made you decide to start a sports club? What unseen potential or opportunities did you see that may have motivated or inspired you to start a sports club?
Well, in back then, so historically speaking, there weren't any teams around. So, joke nga ng nanay ko palagi. Oh anak, hindi ka nakapasok sa team, gagawa tayo ng team. So I always remember that joke. She makes things light for us when, something is frustrating. So, similarly, gusto ko talagang maglaro. Yung action sa touch rugby ay nasa QC. So, wala sa BGC or very minimal. That's what urged me to join the people in co-founding Isla. So, yung Isla naman, hindi ko siya idea. So, nung time na yon, si Alex Maynard, nagpapa-open play siya sa McKinley. So, invited everyone to go there. So, ako naman, syempre, nalaman ko yung news. Nag-invite ako ng maraming tao. Hanggang sa nag-grow siya na nag-grow. It's naging regular thing na. But there's no existing team there. So, it just naturally occurred, why don't we create a team? So actually it's the initiative of the boys. Mga rugby guys pa nga yan that time. And then they approached me, like I remember one time there's this dinner. So usually may socials after maglaro. So parang 14 yata sila na boys, ako lang yung babae doon. Tapos sabi, we want to start a club. Tapos in-approach nila ako, sabi ko, okay. So ako daw dun sa touch side, sila sa rugby side. So yun na. Nagkaroon ng idea, and then medyo action-oriented person kasi talaga ako. Kumbaga parang I recognized over the years that's my strength. So yun, when we came together, we were able to formulate Isla. There's always an option to just play. However, the reality is that maybe it's common in the Philippines also that if you want to play, especially when you've graduated, you're outside the university, there's not a lot of options around. And so it's a natural need that if you want to be able to enjoy the game again, then kailangan mo mag-take ng steps to formulate the organization. So yun lang siya. It started more organic. Hindi siya parang formal agad na, oh, we're gonna start a team, ganito. Parang to follow na lang na nagkaroon ng mga mission vision, yung Isla. So literally, we came together to play. So that's how Isla started.
Speaking of mission and vision, could you please talk briefly about the mission and vision of Isla Touch Football Club?
Okay, good question. So how we formed it eventually is that very welcoming kasi yung Isla to all levels.
Yeah.
Literally, pwedeng nasa school ka pa or wala kang sport, di ka pa nakatakbo in your life or hindi ka pa nakahawak ng bola in your life or socials person ka, pero may mga competitive na tao. So, ang realization namin is we want, which alam mo naman yan, we want Isla to be a platform to hone and grow the sport across different levels. Like, tipong makapag-produce, why not makapag-produce si Isla ng player na pwedeng maglaro sa national level? We can support our teammate. Why are we gonna limit the pool of people who can join us? If someone wants to be competitive, let them be competitive. Let's support them. If someone wants to be part of socials, then let them play in a social setup. So we want it to be a very inclusive organization.
Touch for all.
Touch for all. Tapos, yun, syempre kami, gusto namin ng kalaro natin. Gusto natin may kalaban, may kalaro. So, very, very supportive tayo sa initiatives ng ibang teams, ng governing body. So, yun naman talaga siya. In a way, parang connected pa rin naman siya din sa mission ng governing body, which is to grow the sport.
As a leader, what beliefs or principles do you use to evaluate information and respond to people's situations or to situations that may arise within the organization?
As a leader, I don't know everything. So having more heads means having more resources, having more perspectives, having more thoughts. I think over the years, ang idea ko kasi ng leadership before is basta magawa. Doesn't matter how, basta mangyari. Tapos na-realize ko, bakit parang hindi siya nag-enjoy? Si teammate hindi nag-enjoy. Si teammate na isa, bakit mainit yung ulo? Yung isa, ba't hindi na nagpapakita? So parang, to me ngayon, ang importante in, as a basis for leadership is, for one, ano ba yung, bakit ba tayo nabuo? Like, we're formed for the people inside the club, diba? It's for the experience of the people who are part of the team. So, when we randomly decide na, ito yung goal, tapos wala naman palang buy-in ng teammates mo, edi mag-isa ka lang. So, diba? It's a team sport. So, to me, the experience of every player is valid. So, yun, and decision-making shouldn't be a burden of just one person. So, ngayon, meron ng core group, yung Isla. So, mas nadi-discuss na, nagkakaroon ng healthy debate, if you call it. Or, nahihima yung conversation around what's best for the club.
In terms of Isla's future, what's the most important thing you are working on right now? And how are you making it happen?
Most important thing, so we're working in phases at the moment. So we want to expose people to the sport. So this is not na Isla lang nakakagawa nito. This is something that can be done by other teams.
Yes.
And being part of TAP also, I know what TAP is trying to do. And as Isla, it's pretty much aligned. We're exposing people to the sport because if we expose people to the sport, then we can create fandom around the sports.
Yes.
We can create more athletes. We can invite more athletes. We can develop the sport further. Yes. So how we're taking it is a step-by-step thing. So right now, pandemic, may COVID, bawal maglaro. Pero marami namang ways to expose people to the sport.
Yes.
So what we recently did is, to boost some content online, social media, to create curiosity.
Yeah, there's one great initiative that you did. That's the one said you contacted one said, and yeah, you asked if we can present the sport to many PE teachers. Right? Do you still remember that? That was just, when did that happen? Last year? October? November?
Oh, tinag mo ko. Sabi ko parang hindi ko sasayangin yung pagkakataon. Tapos, kataon na very, very truthful to their mission. So, I think when we know what we want, when we have a certain, when we have a certain goal that we're trying to achieve, we're gonna attract the right people around us. So, yun, lang siya, natural lang siya. Although yung sa One said naman, medyo nakakalito kasi diba, sa TAP din ako and then Isla. So, I wanted to make sure na si Isla will be represented. So that's why I invited you. And then TAP will take it on. So that, na-invite ko rin sila Pauline, sila Chola.
Yeah. What are your biggest struggles in terms of putting up a sports club? I know there are so many great people who have helped you to establish this club. But what could be, just probably name one biggest struggle in terms of putting up a sports club?
I think that would be yung level of teamwork. So I discovered along the way na, it's such a funny thing to say. I've been part of a team sport even when I was young. And then yung realization ka na hindi pala ako good team player is during Isla days na. So doon ko na-realize na bakit hirap na hirap ako, parang pagod na pagod ako nag-aasikaso ng lahat. Yun yung before pa nagkaroon ng core group. Tapos na-realize ko na I'm so attached to taking responsibility. Kaya feel ko yung burden. So to me, it's really difficult to um yung to really
Delegate?
understand delegate yung teamwork talaga mismo. Akala natin napakadaling konsepto ng teamwork, pero sa totoo lang, the more the bigger you want to build something, the more successful you want to build something, the word teamwork becomes,
More difficult.
yeah, it can be complicated. So I'm to learn, to learn or to move people to action or to invite people to care, to do things at the back end na hindi to naglalaro ka lang. Mahirap siya. So eventually, yun, fortunately, nung nagkaroon na ng care din yung mga tao, and then nagkaroon ng, we attracted more people in the club who are contributing.
Yes.
Doon ko nakita yung beauty niya lalo.
Yes. And I've witnessed how much people care. Like, let's say, sila Kat, sila Abby, sila Mika, si Glian actually messaged me, and she made the initiative if we can try this technology out because we wanna also promote Isla Touch Rugby, right? So and also when they do something, I think they're really doing it because they like it, not because they are being forced to do it. So makikita mo talaga initiative, nagkukusa sila to do things for the club. So how do you develop talent and help people grow to the next level, like within the Isla Club?
Expose people more, so give them responsibilities. So this is something I learned from the core group as well, na it can't be na ikaw gagawa lahat or ikaw magde-decide for someone, for your teammates. Kasi, if they're gonna make a mistake, then they're gonna experience that mistake. Pero yung support group, importante na, we have each other's back. So I think developing talents it's not a one person's job. It's the job of everybody. So the team has helped me develop so well na nagbe-benefit yung nagbe-benefit ako personally. Like it's so translatable. So the more I open myself to learning towards others, the more that as a group we can help ourselves, and at the same time nag-translate din siya to outside sports eh. Nung natuto ako with the value of teamwork, the specific factors that come into play when you're establishing a very good development for your team, like you're developing the team's capability to play individually or as a whole. Yung mga ganong exposure, I think, nadala ko rin siya outside of the sport. So I would never attribute yung developing teammates to myself kasi naging natural progression siya. Parang nag-grow talaga yung isa as a team together.
Talking about teamwork and how we help each other in Isla family, could you please just describe the Isla Touch football culture for those people who are listening na they're not aware of the touch football community, and if they're not aware yet about Isla Touch Football Club?
Okay,
What is the culture like?
Okay, the culture in Isla, we have so many cultures.
So many subcultures.
Eventually, so nung una, parang naturally lang yung Isla na form, sobrang laki ng Isla kasi Isla mahilig magpa-socials. So after training, may dinner, some drinks. So parang nasa culture ng Isla yan na we welcome everyone. We accommodate everybody. Like if you're new to the game, we approach you, we say hi to you, we ask you, what help you need, we teach you the basics. And then over the years, when we're trying to understand better the identity of Isla, we formulated certain actions, certain habits, like some keywords. So we came up with this line na always chase a breakaway. So even if parang in basketball, they call it fast break, di ba? So, nag-break away, they have the ball. Even if sobrang layo ng distance, you chase it.
Yes.
Hindi pwedeng hindi.
I agree with that, yeah.
Oh, tapos, meron pang certain thing na we leave a venue better than we found it, or, as we found it. So, we clean up after ourselves. And then we greet each other. We start the session with a greeting. So we say, hi, kamustahan? Ano ba? Madami. So, tapos we want to make sure, we're so intentional about, nag-enjoy ka ba? Natututo ka ba? Ano yung kailangan mo? Meron pa tayong ritual before the game, yung chimichami.
Yes.
To help people loosen up.
Yes. That's cool. Really cool. What new ideas or technologies have changed Isla Touch Football Club's culture in the past, or just the organization in general, in the last 5 years?
What do you mean by technology?
Like, remember when we would have this meeting, like the core groups, we would sometimes use apps to organize.
Yeah.
Yeah, so those types of, or maybe there's more that I am aware of.
So luckily, syempre, we're a team or a club of professionals. So we have our own jobs. So Abby introduced Trello to us. So Trello is a project management tool. So yun yung online office ng Isla na if we wanna monitor certain deliverables, Isla has also brand partnerships. So we utilize Trello to monitor progress, checklists, yung collaboration in different teams. Mahirap kasi if we just rely on meeting each other all the time, rely on individual notes. So it's good to have a central library of collaboration. Tapos we also have our chat room, yung Lark.
Yes.
So yung Lark, we create documents there, we do video calls there, we messaging as well. From time to time, we also use Messenger.
Yes.
So mainly just those three things. Naging habit na rin siya for Isla to capitalize on these free tools. Thank you, Trello. Thank you, Lark. So
Yeah.
I think we have to leverage on technology.
Yes, I agree with that.
Otherwise, we're gonna spend longer hours, or we're gonna make some mistakes that pwede namang hindi, diba?
And we can easily backtrack, right? If there are things that we don't always, our memory doesn't always serve us well, not all the time. So we can always go back to that certain app. Okay.
I really don't trust my memory. That's why I have this habit of writing a lot.
Yeah. So what aspects of Isla's culture, in your understanding, are highly visible to people outside Isla?
I think that's a difficult question to answer because it can only be validated by outsiders. But maybe what I can share is that the level of our welcoming to our members is really warm.
Yes.
Like si Ish has no sports at all. Hi Ish. When she came to Isla, and then now she's competing for rugby. So
wow. Okay, I didn't know that about Ish.
Yeah, literally hindi siya tumatakbo before. Si Abby never ran like before. She's a ballerina when she was in school.
Oh.
Tapos sa touch rugby na lang niya literally inara niya tumakbo. So, yun, I think yung perspective ng outsiders, I really cannot validate it, but I can just share some concrete actions and experience. And then for me, personal experience ko, may pagka-competitive talaga ako. So, yung culture ng isla na yung natulungan ako na isla na tanggapin na hot-headed ako sa game. Tapos tinulungan ako ng isla alamin kung ano effect ng pag hot-headed ako sa sa bench or on field, kung ano nararatrat yung team. Hindi ko alam na talaga parang pinagtatawanan ako, sobrang obvious. Pero yung level of acceptance and yung acknowledgement na gusto natin mag-improve individually for the enjoyment of the whole is, I would say, it's really good. I think myself, I've improved a lot in my temperament on the field. I now enjoy the game even more. Chill lang ako. So yun, yung acceptance is, I would say, it's really good.
So we've been talking about the ones that are highly visible. Now I'm gonna ask about the invisible. In your understanding, what part or what aspects of Isa's culture are invisible to others?
There's this thing, when I started describing Isa, we're more social. So I think the branding stick around for a really long time. Internally, what's happening is that yung incremental changes, incremental improvements, yung being analytic, how can we improve, what can be done, na for a group of people na sobrang iba-ibang mix, na merong very athletic, merong hindi, merong socials lang. And then we're being able to establish references, systems in order to help people to elevate their skills. That's something invisible to others. Na bakit merong improvement in the drills? Bakit may paulit-ulit na execution ng drills? Bakit may program? Bakit may training venue? Na in a way, akala siguro ng lahat is social san tayo, but we're actually doing the work. Nice. So I saw a lot of improvement using those resources. Sila Kat, laki na in-improve, di ba?
Yes. Super.
Yung parang we take it seriously, mukha lang hindi. I saw the results naman.
Cool.
Saw the results. So it's nice to talk about that. Given now, we're not talking about a national level team. We're talking about a club. But in a club, a lot of people can benefit from it. So, yan, parang medyo balance siya. Na social ka, but also, improve tayo.
We're gonna move on to some social issues regarding female athletes in general. So this isn't just happening here in our country, but I think it's been happening worldwide. I would just like to know your views about this, because obviously you're one of the most incredible female athlete's role model. Okay, for younger women, or probably me also. I'm older than you, but you're one of my role models. I'm just curious, what's your take on this one? So most often than not, women are judged based on aesthetics and physical appearance. We can't deny that. Okay, to a much higher degree than men. Some girls or women tend to shy away from sports. I know some women who did already. That because they thought that that will make my skin darker, or make my body more muscular. I don't want to look too bulky. I want to stay or remain skinny.
When we started the conversation, we talked about perspective. Well, personally, me, growing up, I think I'm very oblivious to the concept of male, female, ito gagawin mo, pang ganitong katawan yan, pag ganitong kulay yan. And it started in the household. It's literally, my parents do the same things. My dad brings me to the games. My mom supports it. There's no gender roles in the family whereby you're limited in what you're able to do because of your gender. So personally, my perspective growing up is that kung kaya mo, kaya mo. Kung gusto mo, gusto mo.
Nice.
And then I think my advice to girls, to ladies, to women out there is that we have to protect our perspective and create our reality
Oh.
and pursue it because they're not gonna be happy. We're gonna one who will feel it. And when we're not happy, then we're the one who suffer. And when we want to enjoy the game, it's naturally gonna demand that you build your body for it, you train for it, and then your body will change. And then, true enough, for example, in my experience, when I was playing rugby, I was training for rugby. Of course, I have to lift. Of course, I even I lift people, so it helps me build muscles. It just naturally happens. I actually feel good about myself. I feel confident.
Yeah.
I never had to think about I'm dark or whatever, or my muscles are like this. Because in my circle, in my perspective, in the people I surround myself with, it's just common. It's just natural. And then, and we can't really control what people say, what people utter.
Yes.
And so that's how important it is to protect our own perspective. So if you really know who you are, you have your own belief system, and you hear otherwise, and it's not doing you good, then I think it's time to evaluate your circle.
Yes.
I think bottom line, you have good energy because you work out. You feel good because you go out, you expose yourself under the sun. The notion of being having lighter skin or being skinny, it's all just a perspective. For some people, that's their preference, and that's okay. And like if you're doing it because that's when you feel good, or it's for utility, like you need to build certain bigger muscles in certain parts of your body because it's important for your movement, for your sport, then you said you want it, then go do it. And then I think media plays a big role. Yeah, because I remember when I used to still watch TV, and that was when I was young. I don't watch TV anymore.
It's Netflix.
Netflix na.
Not even Netflix. Okay.
So I remember, I think media or consumerism created a lot of these notions so that you'll buy their products. So everybody's doing what's good for them, and everybody's saying what they think they should say. And so it's so important to also confide in your own reality that, okay, but this is how I feel. So I think bottom line, there are some things you will care about, and some things you can just be detached to, because I really cannot take control of what people say to me, but I can take control of their proximity to me. Like I can move away from them because it doesn't do me any good, and I'm gonna protect what makes me enjoy myself, makes me happy.
Wow, Jam, you're so incredible. Your answers are gold.
I don't know. I really don't. I think it's surfacing a lot now. Maybe it's not really in my reality before. Na hindi ko naman talaga na-experience yung iniisip ko, kasi babae ako. Hindi ko talaga siya realidad. Nagkataon lang talaga na yung mga nakapalibot sa akin, they don't care. Like, they don't mind. Like, I play with boys. I play basketball with boys. And then they don't care. They don't say anything. So parang growing up, hindi ako nagkaroon ng ganong reality. And sadly, through the years and with the growth of media, with the growth of internet, marami palang mga underlying issues na ganito. Like, female athletes face a lot all the time. They get now objectified sila because of what they wear, their bodies.
Yes.
Wow, it's my first time talking about this.
Yeah, that's why I thought I should ask you. Yeah, I thought I should ask you. I was really curious about what you think about these social issues. We're now going to wrap up. Can you believe that? We're heading towards the end of this interview. So we're going to move on to Fast Five. I'm going to ask you 5 questions. One sentence. Yeah. Basically, you can't explain your answer.
I'm gonna look back into this years from now.
Yeah, no explanations, ha? Bawal mag-explain.
Again,
Okay, Fast Five. Question number 1. What rules should we be breaking?
abiding to should, what ought to be. Yun lang. One answer lang ba?
Yes. What makes your sports club or what makes Isla uh, unique?
We strive for the better.
How do we protect and preserve that culture?
Be
The culture.
proactive. Take action.
Cool. What are people thinking but are afraid to express?
That they want to be able to do more.
What do you expect from people and what can they expect from you?
Take ownership of yourself. That's what you want. Work for it.
What can they expect from you? Sorry, those are 2 questions like in one, in one number, but what can they expect from you?
I will, when I care, then I'll contribute my best. So you can expect me to just really be myself.
We're heading towards fill in the blanks. Okay, just 5 fill in the blanks.
Baka naman to.
Oh, diba? Okay, first one. Oh, you're allowed to give 3 answers for this. The 3 most important things in life that I value the most are
My peace of mind,
Mhm.
my relationship with the people around me, how I utilize my blessings or my resources.
Great answers. Second one. People deserve to be treated equally because
And then,
people deserve to
sorry,
be treated equally
because no one is above anyone. We're all humans.
Third one. One thing that I'd like to say no to is
Eh, committing to new endeavors because I've already decided on my track.
which path to take. Number 4. If you can change one thing about yourself, it would be
Sometimes being so hard on myself.
last one, Jam. The most important thing a leader must have is
Um, lead yourself. So leadership is not about you, but it's also about you at the same time. But anyway, that's a little complicated.
I think I understand what you mean by that. Are there any things that we didn't cover that you wanted to talk about or any message you want to send our audience?
Message to the audience. Yeah, I hope you pick up something from this. If you take something, then it can be part of your wealth. You can make so many more successes if you just take what you can benefit from.
Yes. And perspective is the key.
I'm
People.
very vulnerable in this conversation. Thank you.
Oh, I really appreciate you accepting my invitation. I know how busy you are. But yeah, you could be resting right now, eating your dinner, but you sacrificed your time to be
No, it's
with me and talk
you're
about.
doing the same. You're doing the same.
Oh,
Thank you,
thanks,
Rich.
Jam. Many people will benefit from this. Thank you, thank you, thank you.